Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, May 26, 2026. So, this episode, we start with Christina, Molly, and Alexis. Christina and Molly just got to the house, and Alexis is basically asking for help with Danny because Danny is getting a little bit out of control and being a bit reckless, and he's done several things. And Christina and Molly are like, they were under depression that of course, he misses his dad, but that he was adjusting well to living with Alexis. She was like, yeah, but he asked Sonny for a job. He broke into Sidwell's house. Like, he's not going down a good path. And it's all in the name of trying to get his dad back. But none of this is going to help him with getting his dad back. So she's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to protect him. I might have to send him to boarding school. And both Christina and Molly, they're like, yeah, and boarding school, that ain't the way to go. And so, um, Christina was like, well, maybe you should trust him. And then she was like, because I know what it is to be raised by you. When you keep such a tight grasp, all I wanted to do is rebel against it. And then Molly was like, and you gave me the freedom, and that made me want to, be better, to trust you. Two different kids. You have to approach children differently because not each child is the same. You can't discipline one child the way you would discipline another because they're individuals. So that's what Molly and Christina are trying to get across. And, um, they agree that they're going to talk to Danny. And then, y'all, where in the world did this come from? So, Christina and Molly leave once Ava arrives, and they go to Bobby's. I called it Charlie's one day last week. They went to Bobby's, and Christina gets an email, and she has gotten into medical school. One, did Christina ever complete college? Two, when did she have a desire or interest in medical things? Because, like, this is kind of out the blue. I'm like, huh? Like, clear out the blue. No one saw that coming. But I guess this is, if you all didn't know, Kate Mansi is leaving as Christina. And so I guess this is her exit story. So she may be exiting for a while to go away for medical school. Think they could have figured out something better than something that had not been alluded to previously. But I digress. Next, we have Sunny and Laura, and they just got the phone call from Britt, and they're trying to piece together what this means. And Sunny thinks that this information about Pascal is, pertinent because all they have to do is get Pascal to change to switch on Sidwell. Meanwhile, at Sidwell's house, Pascal gives Sidwell the mail, and it includes the autopsy report for Marco. And so then Ava shows up, and Ava is telling him, you know what, don't look at it because I didn't look at Lauren. I mean, I didn't look at Kiki's. Lauren, Kiki, same difference. I didn't look at her autopsy report because it's not going to help you. It's not going to bring your child back. And so she's like, he could have had, she asked them if any new information has come about, and they were like, it's probably someone he trusted and someone who was close to him because of the nature of what happened to him. And so she's like, well, could it have been someone with unrequited feelings? And as we do know, Pascal played a pivotal role in Marco's death because he did have unrequited feelings, and he hated Lucas. So he knew that Marco stole those meds for Britt for Lucas. And so he went and called Cullum, who in turn went and killed Marco. So Ava is actually very warm, but Sidwell is very much focused on Lucas right now, based on the previous conversation that he had with um Nathan, aka Cassius. Meanwhile, speaking of Lucas, he's meeting with Carly and she's, trying to get him to look at another place because it's time for him to move out of Windermere. And I don't know what he thinks he's going to do. It's so dangerous and it's so crazy, and I don't even know what he thinks he can do to protect himself by staying at Windermere. But okay, so he's trying to, you know, help Britt, and he that relationship comes to a head, and Carly's like, "Why are you being making nice with Sidwell, making nice with Britt? Like, what is going on here?" And he's like, you know, there's more to these people than what you see or whatever. And so she was like, well, if Sidwell ever tries to do anything to you, I'm a I got it for him. And he was like, oh, Sonny. She was like, among other people, because like, yeah, Sonny, yeah, I got him too, but I got people you don't know. So she still believes in Valentine despite their last unfinished conversation. Anyway, so then Liesl and Nathan are at Bobby's as well with Carly and Lucas. And so the new cop, I cannot think of his name right now. Is it Fitzgerald? The new cop comes and he has a warrant because Dante told him to go to the court and get a warrant for Britt's residence. So he goes to Kelly's because we know she lives in an apartment over Kelly's. He goes to Kelly's with a warrant and he needs to speak to the owner, who happens to be Carly. And when they hear that they want to search Britt's residence, Nathan and Liesl, they speak up and he sends them to the PCPD. Meanwhile, Lulu is at the house with Danny and Charlotte, asking them did they know that Rocco was leaving, and they're like, no, I didn't know anything. And so then Dante calls and tells her to get down to the police station. So she leaves, and then Danny and Charlotte are talking, and they're like, something has been going on with him since the night when he got cut. And then she looks at her phone and she sees that she had an email to her school email from Rocco. Meanwhile, at the PCPD, um, at the PCPD, um, Nathan and Lulu is talking to Dante, and he tells her that she's with Britt, and she's freaking out. And then Liesl comes and you's like, you tried to keep him away from his mother. Liesl, Britt is not his mother. Like, I don't. So Nathan ends up taking her in interrogation to try to see if she knows anything. But then he let something slip because he was like, if she's away from Port Charles, her Parkinson's can kill her. I mean, she doesn't have Parkinson's. She has Huntington's. Her Huntington's can kill her or something. And she's like, nah, she ain't even having no symptoms. So what makes you think that her being away from Port Charles is going to make her Huntington's flare up to the point of death? Like, you not telling me something. Meanwhile, Lulu and Dante are out talking, and Danny and Charlotte show up and they give her the email, which is a video from Rocco, basically saying, I'm not being kidnapped. I had to fight with Britt and I wanted to go. Dante's like, well, maybe he's being coerced. And she was like, no, he not being coerced because he used the code phrase. And yeah, he wanted to go with Britt. So yeah, that was General Hospital for today. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And what is Christine? Anyway, see y'all tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, May 27th, 2026. So, we start this episode with Molly and Christina outside of Bobby's, and they're there. And, yesterday, um, Christina dropped a bomb that no one saw coming and told Molly that she had applied to medical school. And, Molly's all excited, after she reads the letter and see that, in fact, Christina has been admitted into medical school. So she's all excited. And she goes into Bobby and she makes an announcement to everybody in front of Bobby's. And then they sit down and she's like, tell me everything. So basically, what Christina is saying is that back when they lost Irina Della. What's her name? I put all the names together. Irene and Adela. I put it as one name. Irene Adela. When they lost her, while she was in the hospital, she was struck by how the doctors and everyone cared for her. And she decided, she would maybe want to do that. So she studied and took the MCAT and did well and applied to UCLA Medical School, and she has been admitted. And so she's like, yeah, I'm not going to medical school though, because um I have a history of starting things and not finishing it. And Molly talks her into it because you're going to do this for me and Irene Adela. And so, every time you feel like you want to give up, you're going to keep going and all this stuff. It's fine. It's a nice exit story for Kate Mansi. However, it's full of crap because we saw none of this. So I could buy it a little bit if we saw, how she was affected by the treatment that she was receiving at the hospital and how it like impressed upon her. If we saw that, then I could possibly be buying this story that they're selling, but we didn't, so it just falls flat for me. But you be your own judge. Meanwhile, Rick comes to see his girlfriend, and she has so Britt didn't knock her in the head. She hit her head, I guess, in the scuffle or whatever, when Britt locked her in the bathroom. And, Rick is going off because he wants to sue the hospital and he wants to sue Britt. And she's like, yeah, we're not going to do that. I just want to make sure that Rocco is okay. And that was Britt's main concern. And then, he was like, well, how did they find you? And she says, Dante found me. And he feeling away. Is he feeling away about Dante? I mean, he should feel away about Dante because I feel like Dante got a thing for Elizabeth. But I mean, like, she is pretty sold on you right now, Rick. Go with that. Go with the flow. But I guess not. Anyway, so Dante and Lulu, they're at the house. She's trying to look for clues as to where him and Britt could have went. And she doesn't find anything. And, Dante and her are thinking about going to the FBI, but then he was like, you can't go to the FBI because going to the FBI is basically alerting the WSB, and that's going to lead Cullum directly to Cullum directly to what's that boy named Rocco. And so then Sonny comes over after talking to Gio because he calls his grandson over to see if he talked to Dante or Rocco. And Gio ends up telling him about the confrontation that he had with Gio the night before because he kind of broke Gio's confidence by squealing to Dante. And he's like, my brother's never going to trust me again. And he was like, you did the right thing and whatever. So after he finishes up with Geo, he goes over to Lulu's house and he's like, look, I got somebody that can track him, and he, won't, this is less dangerous, because if you go to the FBI or if you try and track them yourself, the WSB is going to be hot on your heels, and you're going to lead Cullum directly to Rocco. So he's like, let me do it. And he tells him that, he can have Brick do it. I was saying, get Brick on the job. He can figure it out probably by dinner time. But yeah, so um he tells them to, stand down. I know it's going to be hard for you not to look for your son because you're worried about your son. But Britt, he told he told Geo, and I think Lulu even said as much. Like, as much as you hate that he's out there with Britt, that Britt will kind of like protect him, because she thinks of him as her child, even though he's not her child. So anyway, then we have Emma and Kai, and so Emma, this part is so we have Emma and Kai. They're at Bobby, and they're talking, and he's like, Trina's family mess gonna steal this opportunity from her. Oh my. Um, and I'm like, wait a minute, because really, I'm not even gonna get into it. So anyway, I'm not even. So meanwhile, Trina goes over to Jordan's house to see her dad, and she's like, what happened between my dad and Isaiah? And Curtis was like, he tells her what happened, and he's like, he wanted to fight, so I gave it to him. Curtis, you are ignorant, and I'm so sick of you. Like, dude, I am so sick of you. But she's worried about how much trouble he could be in. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Isaiah and Portia are being interviewed by DA Turner. And this is the thing about Turner. Turner went in there with her mind made up about what she wanted to do, and she was trying to avoid bringing charges against Curtis. However, when she's talking to him, she sees like there's no way to get around bringing charges against Curtis. And so anyway, she leaves and she goes to Curtis and Jordan's house, and she tells them that he's going to be brought up on felony assault charges. I mean, the man may not be able to operate. His whole livelihood is effed up. And this is the problem that I have, because then Trina goes to her mother, and I'm happy that she didn't go in there with an attitude, because I was going to be, me and Trina was going to have beef again. Me and Trina beef on, off and on. At the end of the day, that's my niece, but she be getting on my nerves. And you better keep it cute when you're talking to my sister, your mother. But anyway, she went in there, and she didn't go in there with an attitude, but then she wants her mother to make peace and get Isaiah to show Curtis mercy. But the man career is over, and she kind of like brushed it off. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about all that, but no, ain't no buts. So then Isaiah ends up talking to Kai and tells him that he's not going to be able to do Derek's surgery. And so when Trina sees him, she's like, yeah, he fell on his hand. He was like, no, his hand broke because of your daddy. And he can't do the surgery, and Derek might die. And she had egg on her face and she was looking crazy. And I was glad, because what do you mean you just going to brush off the fact that this man his livelihood is in jeopardy now? He saves lives with his hands, and now he can't do that. And there's limited people who can do this surgery. And, But yeah, that was GH for today. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, May 28th, 2026. So we start this episode at the Q Mansion. Chase and Brooklyn are there. Chase is getting ready to leave for work, I guess. And he um Brooklyn mentions that Amelia couldn't take her stuffed bunny to school, and so she left it with um what's that baby name? Delilah's baby. That's not her name. Phoebe. She left the stuffed animal with Phoebe, but you know, they noticed, that she left it and she's gonna need it for that night. So they're talking and Tracy comes and she was like, that means I gotta let Willow into my house. And then Brooklyn kind of signals to Chase to just take it over to Willow. And I'm screaming. Everything on the inside of me is saying is saying Brooklyn, do not do that. Do not do that. But I knew she was going to do it. And I knew that this was going to happen. And like, let me stop talking like I know what's about to happen because I don't. I got to watch with everybody else. But yeah, put a pin in that. Meanwhile, we have Geo and Trina, and she's coming because she didn't sleep that night because the reality of the situation has finally sunk in for her. Like, your dad was violent and caused harm that didn't just hurt the person he became violent with, it hurt people that he doesn't even know. You're upset about a little boy that you don't know that could possibly die. Portia said today that the little boy is like 9. A 9-year-old boy can't get the surgery that he needed because your father couldn't regulate his own emotions. So, should he even be allowed to be around his child? Because I'm sorry. And y'all know, I don't know if y'all know because I wasn't here talking to y'all when things was good. But I was the biggest supporter of Portia and Curtis. But wrong is wrong. And here we are. It's wrong. Like, it is what it is. Like, and at the end of the day, a little boy's life is at risk. But Big Mama Portia had to come through again, doing what she do and fix stuff because that's what she do. Oh, what would we do without Portia? Anyway, y'all. So Cody and Molly are at the house and Cody wants to reenact this is crazy. Reenact some of the scenes from her book. So they in the house getting fresh because Alexis is gone for the day with Ava. And Danny and Scout excuse me. Danny and Scout are at school. So they at the house. They think they got the house together. Why Molly ain't at work? When she was with TJ, all Molly used to do was work. Now maybe she's still on leave because she could still be on leave. I'm sorry, from her surgery. Let me leave her alone. Not too much on Molly, okay? But they they are chilling at the house, and then they're getting fresh or whatever. And so they're getting fresh, and then Suzanne comes over there to drop some papers off and walks in on them. And then she tells Molly that she read her book and because Alexis left it there. And while I write romance novels as well, I am not published yet because I'm too afraid to pull the trigger. But I already told my parents, y'all can't read my book. Because you don't, you, you don't need to. Yeah, Yeah, I can't. My mom can't read my books, y'all. I'm sorry. If one day I do pull the trigger, like I know y'all want to support me and everything, but sit this one out. But anyway, then we have Curtis talking to Michael, and he's telling Michael how it's been 6 weeks, and he know Isaiah did this. Still going on and on and on, and I'm so sick of Curtis, and I'm sick of hearing this because it's stupid. I don't care if, and I am not an Isaiah fan, mind you, people, but I don't care if Isaiah did leave y'all on the side of the road for dead. You don't get to put your hands on him. You don't get to take the law into your own hands. You are former law enforcement. You know all of this. No one should have to tell you you are wrong. And now you cost this man his whole career because you couldn't keep your hands to yourself. And this little boy has to be collateral damage because you couldn't control yourself. I want him under the jail. Under the freaking jail. But meanwhile, Willow is at home doing another monologue to Drew, and Drew in there rolling his eyes because I know this has got to be torture, even more so than being locked in, having to listen to Willow go on and on and on and on. Gots to be crazy. Sidwell comes over, and I don't know who Willow was feeling like today, but hold on. But yeah, she was getting very like she was getting spicy with Sipwell, and I'm like, you trying to die? Like, what are you doing, Willow? Cause you straight up tripping. Cause she was getting like, I guess she feel like now that she's a congresswoman, she got some bravado, but like pipe down. Yeah, pipe down, Willow, because girl, what are you doing? Cause she was getting like she was yelling at Sidwell, and at one point Sidwell looked at her like, "Girl, you tripping." It was so funny because I don't know what Willow was on today, but yeah, Sidwell put her in her place or whatever and told her, "Well, we can just kill Drew if you want to smother him with a pillow." Um, and so she's sitting there crying because she feels helpless, and then I told you to put a pin in Chase and Brooklyn and them. So then Chase comes over and he's bringing the bunny, and he sees that she's crying, and now he wants to be a shoulder for her to cry on. Baby, that's how it all starts. That's all I'm saying. That's how it all starts. Whew. Anyway, so meanwhile, back at the house, um, when Chase was leaving, Portia arrived because Portia is coming because she's asking the Quartermains to foot the bill for transporting Derek to Chicago to a surgeon that can do the surgery. So Tracy and Brooklyn is about to like have a meltdown because she feels like it's her fault, but it's not your fault that Curtis can't control himself, which is what Tracy told her. But Tracy did agree to go ahead and cover the cost because Big Mama Portia always got to come through and find a solution because that's what she do. She find she solve problems, make her chief of staff again. But you know, I know she got to hire a baby and do all of that. So I'm gonna sit tight and be quiet because I do want her to get her baby time in, and that job is very demanding. So I'm gonna shut up. But yeah, make her chief of staff again. This is my campaign. And then after she speaks with Tracy, she goes over there to see the bald menace, and they getting into it. And I pray and I hope that Portia does not go into labor tomorrow, but she just said to Brooklyn that she's, due any minute now. And Curtis was talking about how he's not going to miss the birth of his baby. And I just don't want her to go into labor in his office because he don't deserve to be there. Broke boys don't deserve no. I know that's right. But yeah, that was GH for today. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, May 29th, 2026. So we started this episode today with Tracy and Ethan. Why did I write that? Anyway, we started today with Tracy and Ethan. They are at their at the boathouse, and Tracy is basically trying to talk to him because she wants to discuss with him the working for her to ensure that Brooklyn and Chase are able to adopt Phoebe. So she wants to make sure that nothing comes in their way, which little does Tracy know he is what's in the way, because he is the missing link between Delilah and um, the family. I don't know what's happening right now. But anyway, between Delilah and her, because he knew Delilah. He's just not saying anything. He's weird. I don't like Ethan. But anyway, so she's talking to him about that at the boathouse. And um she is talking to him about making sure that Brooklyn and them are able to adopt, and she doesn't want anything to stand in the way. And meanwhile, Alexis and Ava are in New York City, in Manhattan, and they are meeting with a guy that owns the art gallery, and they're asking questions about Delilah. So they're asking questions about Delilah, and he calls Nathan, and excuse me, he calls Ethan, and Ethan is basically like, stall them, don't give them any information. So he does what Ethan says, but then Ava name drops, and um she name drops and says that the Quartermains are willing to pay. So when she does this, then he speaks and gives her the information that she needs, which is he shows her a picture of Delilah and Ethan. Child. Anyway, so then we have Michael, and he's talking to Brooklyn, and he's telling her basically kind of low key questioning her about her car being damaged and how long it's been damaged, and what's going on. And she was like, "You a mechanic?" And he was like, "I know what a Phillips head screwdriver is." Like, yeah, why you asking me all these questions, Mikey? But anyway, so he makes a phone call and was like, "I think I know a way to solve all my problems." So Jacinda comes over, and Jacinda and Michael are talking, and he was like, "Look, I think that Brooklyn hit the guardrail the night that Curtis and Jordan had the accident, and I think I got a way to solve all my problems, because it doesn't solve Curtis's problem. That's good, because F Baldy. It doesn't solve his problem, because then you punched Isaiah for nothing. You definitely going down. You better take a plea deal, but we gonna get there." So anyway, and then I don't think that I don't think that Jacinda is like all that cool with the idea of this happening or Michael doing this, but what can she say and what can she do? He gonna do what he gonna do. So anyway, we have Chase and Willow. They're over there talking, and she's talking about how she don't love Drew, and how she messed up being with him, getting with him and how she cheated on Chase. And I don't know, Chase is hugging her and making her feel better. And then while he's hugging her, Brooklyn is coming to drop off a gift that she got for Willow for helping them with the fostering and all of that. So she's coming over to drop off a gift to Willow, and she sees them hugging and her touching all on Chase's arms and stuff through the window. So they talking to her, and then when they go to leave, mind you, they're in there talking, and like Brooklyn is like pouring it on kind of thick, and she kissing all on Chase and whatever. So when Chase leaves, Brooklyn basically tells her point blank in the period that if you so much as breathe on my husband again. And I was like, okay, Brooklyn, I see you. Go ahead on, girl. I ain't mad at you. Cause I see you. So she tells her, keep your hands off my man. Don't mess with my man. Yeah, that's what Willow tells. That's what Brooklyn tells Willow. Meanwhile, down at the Aurora, the bald menace is ball menacing. So he is so far off the deep end, and I cannot wait for it all to come out so he can look dumb. So he's talking to Portia, and she tells him about Derek. And he was like, "You putting that at my feet? Boy, who else's feet are we gonna lay it at?" And he said, "This is Isaiah's fault." He said, "You would have came to me. I would have paid for it out my own pocket." Curtis, shut up. You broke. Anyway, so I hate him. I know he the CEO of Aurora or whatever, and he owned the Savoy, but he get on my nerves. Y'all just don't know how hard the bald menace is on my nerves. Tap dancing lately. So he's talking to her, and she's like, "So you don't even like you have no remorse, because nothing that Isaiah said should have warranted you putting your hands on him. Like at the end of the day, like Curtis, stop being foolish. Like you're an idiot. Where is Aunt Stella now? Because this is when you should be talking to his bald head self, because he doing too much. He got too much dip on his chip, and now he in trouble. But you know what? That might be good enough for him. Maybe when he goes sit in Pentonville, maybe things will start to make sense in his head. Because right now, like what? So he gonna say, "I don't want Isaiah around my child." And she was like, "Okay, who you gonna tell? Who are you to tell me who you want, who I'm gonna be with? I'm not trying to tell you who you gonna be with. I'm talking about my child." Curtis, shut the hell up. And she's like, "You can't be serious, because you can't be. You can't possibly, because I ain't say nothing, Nathaniel, about you having Jordan, and I don't like that hoe. Like." I don't like her, and I ain't say nothing about you having her around my kids, so you're not gonna tell me who, like, no. And he was like, "No, because it's not the same thing. Me and Jordan have a history that predates you, blah, blah, blah." And Portia was like, "Boy, please get out my face, because if you think you're gonna tell me who to be with, then you might as well go ahead and rethink your living arrangements." I was like, "Yes, Portia, go off, big mama." Anyway, so then they're just going back and forth. And then she tells Curtis, she was like, "I turned to Isaiah after you walked out on our marriage. I turned to Isaiah because he was giving me the love and understanding and acceptance that you never did." Boom, another mic drop moment. Then she told him that at the end of it, because he's still trying to hold his ground, but you don't have a leg to stand on after what you did. Then you need to worry about your own charges, because if they call me to the witness stand, I'ma tell the truth. I was like, "Oh, big mama." Meanwhile, Carly and Val, they finally got to have the talk. After she's saying he loves Anna, and he says he wants her to have expectations, and he feeling Carly. I was feeling that, but yeah, that was General Hospital for today. I enjoyed this week. And I will see you guys Monday to start this over